What's up? What's happening, everybody? Welcome back into another edition of Fast Five Sports on this Valentine's Day. James Gallant, Matt Infield. That's not my Valentine, but nonetheless, we're here to talk about.
It looks like it with the flowers over my shoulder.
Yeah, it's true. Hannah, hubby hooked you up?
Yeah.
Hubby hooked you up. Let's go. I've got flowers in the car for my girlfriend. Don't worry. Candies, card. I did it right. But we're here to talk about our love of sports today. Mainly basketball. You know, we got a lot going on right now with the Grizzlies. Talk about the All-Star break. Memphis Tigers pick up a pretty dominant win last night in conference play. The NFL season is over. Our Griffin Demaray is actually in Philadelphia at the Eagles parade after they just absolutely whooped the Chiefs in the Super Bowl on Sunday. Talk about that a little bit. And it is opening day for college baseball, including right here in the 901, which is actually starts in about 40 minutes, give or take. So it's going to be a little bit of a shorter show because I have to make my way over there. But still a lot to get to today. Let's start with the Grizzlies. We were at the All-Star break. They sit at 36-18. They are the number 2 team in the West. Once again, just like they were the previous 2 seasons before last, they are a half game up on the Denver Nuggets right now. Man, 8 games back of the Oklahoma City Thunder, who obviously showed what they're made of last Saturday when they came into FedEx Forum and dominated the Grizzlies from start to finish. And good thing is, unlike last year, the Grizzlies are well represented at the All-Star game this weekend. We have 2 rookies from the Beale Street Bears in the Rising Stars competition tonight. Zach Edey and Jalen Wells. I believe they are on the same team as well, which is cool. And, of course, on Sunday, Jaren Jackson Jr. will play in his second All-Star game as part of Team Kenny, which admittedly is, they drafted teams, Kenny, Shaq, Charles. Kenny's team looks like the worst team, although I do like how they figured out and divided up. Shaq's like, what is it? It's all the OGs.
Shaq's got the old guys.
Chuck's got the international guys.
Yep, and then Kenny's really just got a bunch of young guys.
Yeah, it's like Kenny's like the young guns. Yes. So, and the cool thing, now I will say, this format for the All-Star game this year where it essentially becomes like a 4-team tournament on Sunday, I think the format's awful. But the one cool thing, if you're a Grizzlies fan, is if Zach Edey and Jalen Wells' team wins tonight, they'll play on Sunday as well against one of those teams in this tournament style thing.
Gotta assume that they're probably not going to do well, but it is an All-Star game, so
they might play hard.
Effort may not be there. Yeah, they may give the most effort. So
apparently,
I think that's probably the idea behind it.
Apparently, there's going to be a meeting this weekend between Adam Silver and the players and the coaches about competing on Sunday in the All-Star game, which, again, I don't know how you can manufacture that organically. I feel like that's just kind of, when we were growing up, these All-Star games were actually competitive. And guys, it would be like, the first couple quarters would be, okay, we're going to run up and down. We're going to do a bunch of crazy dunks and, wild pass and all that. But then when it got to the fourth quarter, guys would play defense and try to lock up and play hard and go for the win. I don't know kind of where that spirit has gone. I do understand from the players' perspective not wanting to get hurt in an exhibition game. I will say it's not the NFL. It's not like you're out there getting hit. I do understand why the NFL can't really make the Pro Bowl competitive because it's such a violent, brutal sport.
The Pro Bowl has completely dropped off the radar.
I don't think this All-Star game, as it stands, is all that far behind it, though, which is kind of a sad thing.
You got to understand the AFC quarterbacks this year were Drake May and Russell Wilson.
Yeah. As far as guys that are actually there, yes. I mean, everyone that is there.
We are not on that level with the NBA yet.
Everyone that's there this weekend deserves to be there. Yeah, we don't have any Russell Wilsons or Drake Mays or, man, I looked up. I don't even watch it anymore, but I was coming back from a wedding in Florida, and I was waiting for my flight, and I was watching. I looked up at the Pro Bowl. Daryl Hodge from the Atlanta Falcons, who was like their 4th receiver that, like, unless you're a real sicko NFL fan, was in these Pro Bowl games. And I was like, all right, man, we have just lost the plot here completely. So, nonetheless, I don't really know how the NBA gets back to it. Guys got to kind of want to play hard, and I don't know if they're going to really risk injury. At the very least, like I said, it would be cool if, all right, we get down to the fourth quarter, and we play hard, and we compete, and we play defense. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but it would be cool. Because right now, with a lot of these All-Star competitions, the Pro Bowl, the NBA All-Star Game, man, some of these guys might be able to fly tomorrow night, but for a somewhat dying contest, the slam dunk contest is the names in there tomorrow night are a little bit. If you're trying to market it to a casual fan, all due respect to Mac McClung, who we've seen what he could do in a dunk contest setting before, but he's not a big name.
Pulling him out of the G League again.
Right. And Stephon Castle and who's it, Matas Buzelis and Andre Jackson Jr. from the Bucks.
I was gonna say I'd already forgotten the 4 guys that are in it, but yeah, those are like not names that casual people are gonna know at all.
Right. It's not.
Those are bottom of the
Ja
roster.
Morant was in this contest, people would be attracted to it. I think I don't know. I think he's still got some hops. I think we got Zion in this thing, and I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I think that could be pretty fun, too.
I think the dream is Ja, Anthony Edwards, and probably Zion.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Levine or Gordon could come back.
And I think
that would be a dream contest.
A lot of people have brought up the idea that every dunk out there has been done. I don't think that's true. I think the really athletic high flyers could always come up with something new.
I think we kind of went off the rails when people would see like the who did was it Dwight Howard that did like the sticker dunk?
Yes.
And like Gerald Green blowing out the candles. Like
Dwight Howard, that was an awesome dunk contest.
Right. People like disrespected that at the time. They're like, oh, this is nothing. It's like, what do you mean? Like, that's an incredible dunk. And like, I think we've just gotten worse from there because like, if you're not gonna give props to like actually good dunks,
yeah, people
are just gonna do like a windmill and get a 50 or whatever happened last year.
2016 obviously was one that stands out. Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine. Another one that stands out, I think it was 2020 because it was right before the pandemic. Do you remember Aaron Gordon and Derrick Jones Jr. going out in dunk contest when Derrick Jones Jr. was on the Heat? Derrick Jones Jr. won that contest. That was a pretty sick one as well. But yeah, some guys, I respect the creativity with some guys, but then also you've got John Collins putting on the Wright brothers costume and trying to jump over the plane, which is just ridiculous, and it didn't look good. So yeah, we'll see what tomorrow night looks like. Again, you know I like Stephon Castle a lot as a player. He's just not someone that the casual NBA fan is going to know.
No. And he's like the biggest name in it.
Right. You know, Mac McClung, again, he's a G Leaguer. We've seen him win this thing twice before. He's a sick dunker. But at a certain point, when you keep having to pull this same guy from the G League over and over again, it loses its luster a little bit. Yeah. Matas Buzelis, again, rookie, showed some flashes. Unless you're a sicko basketball fan, you probably don't know who that is. And unless you pay attention to the Milwaukee Bucks, you don't know who Andre Jackson Jr. is either.
Right.
So, we'll see. All right, let's take stock of the Grizzlies at the break, though. 36-18. They have once again dealt with a rash of injuries with Jaws missed a lot of time, Desmond Baines missed some time, Vince Williams Jr., G.G. Jackson. I was going to say Marcus Smart. He's no longer on the team, obviously. But, Jaren Jackson Jr. is really the one kind of constant that's been healthy among, like, the big-name guys. And yet here they are. They're 36-18, right in the thick of it in the West. They had a couple of games. You think about their last 3 games before the break. I think 2 of them were pretty disappointing to me. I think Saturday night at home against OKC, you just kind of realize, and I said it that night on air, the Grizzlies are very, very good. I think the Grizzlies are one of the 5 to 7 best teams in the NBA. But you realize there was a teardrop from an OKC caliber team to where the Grizzlies are. Like, I think after seeing OKC Saturday night and what they did on the second night of a back-to-back on the road against the Grizzlies without Chet Holmgren, without Lou Dort, they're missing Casey Wallace as well. Like 3 rotation players, and in the case of Chet Holmgren, their second best player in my opinion, with all due respect to Jalen Williams. The way they dominated the Grizzlies, you realize, to me that's far and away the favorite to come out of the Western Conference. No questions asked. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think they took some of their scars last year when they lost to Dallas. They have to be the heavy favorites to come out of the West. And to be honest, when I stack them up against a Cleveland Cavaliers or a Boston Celtics, I still probably, as much as it pains me to say it, in my heart of hearts, I still think the Celtics are the favorites to win it all just because they have that young core, arguably the best roster in the league, and they did it last year. But if OKC beat Boston this year, I would not be shocked. But that's kind of the disheartening thing if you're a Grizzlies fan, a little bit at least, is that you realize, as things stand, the path to beating OKC in a 7-game series, I don't know what it is. You got to have, and again, there's time for the Grizzlies to reach another level or two over these last, whatever it is, 27 games, 28 for them. But right now, I can't see a world in which they beat OKC.
I think it would have to be exposing a flaw that nobody else has found in OKC at this point.
OKC's got it all. They've got the star.
Deep.
They've got the star MVP candidate, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who just 3-level scorer who makes it look so easy. They've
Averaging
got
32 a night.
They've got the interior presence now. They've got kind of the Chet Holmgren's not a unicorn, but the versatile big that can stretch the floor, and then he can also protect the rim. He's got, him and Jared are similar in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, to be honest, the way that the Thunder and the Grizzlies are built is very similar. You've got the star point guard, the star young point guard, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for OKC, Ja Morant for the Grizzlies. You've got this ultra versatile two-way big man, Jaren Jackson Jr. for the Grizzlies, Chet Holmgren for OKC. You've got the kind of perimeter scoring wing, Jalen Williams for OKC, Desmond Bane for the Grizz, and it's just a deep roster of guys around that they've drafted well, and they've also found some kind of diamonds in the rough in free agency or through trades that fill out the roster and just make them two of the deepest teams in the league. I just think the difference right now is you have to say OKC is just doing it better.
I think the end of the season will be important too because we know the Grizzlies' starting five is strong on any given night, but the guys that we know have it in them but aren't necessarily like on a championship level yet, like guys like Gigi or Vince, if they can kind of like perform very well in the second half, that might give that bench another spark that the Grizzlies kind of need to reach that OKC level.
Yeah. I also think that we saw at the trade deadline, trading Marcus Smart away is, again, a huge gamble by the Grizzlies and Zach Kleiman and the front office that this team, without any proven veterans that have extensive playoff experience and played in NBA Finals games before and whatnot, can make a serious run and maybe get to the finals. Because Zach Kleiman said it last Friday. Part of the reason they felt comfortable trading Marcus Smart away is that Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Desmond Bane have stepped up into the leadership roles on the team. They are the heart of the locker room. They are, the leaders on the team. So it would also be somewhat unprecedented to make the finals with two rookies in your starting lineup, Jalen Wells and Zach Edey. So you wonder if, and again, to me, it doesn't really matter who's starting. It matters who's getting the bulk of the minutes, although with this team, the minutes are so kind of evenly dispersed just because they play at such a rapid pace on both ends of the floor. You got to keep guys fresh. But I kind of wonder if Vince Williams Jr. maybe keeps eating into some minutes from Jalen Wells, just with what he could do on the defensive end. And we've seen it already in the first couple games he's been back. It really stood out in the Phoenix game the other night, guarding Devin Booker and Kevin Durant at times. Wonder if he eats into it a little bit. I will say Vince's jumper looks very rusty right now, which is probably to be expected with the amount of games he's played this season. So, and then with Edey, I think he could contribute on a playoff run for sure, but I do kind of wonder if maybe against some of these teams that are versatile and can switch everything, which are the kind of teams that have given the Grizzlies problems, a la kind of the Clippers the other night. I wonder if Brandon Clark ends up seeing the majority, maybe not the majority of minutes, but the most minutes out of any of the traditional big guys outside of Jaren, just because he is so versatile defensively. He has played in postseason games before, and he kind of gives you some optionality. So, yeah, just comparing them to OKC, it's like, man, you look at, and the two additions the Thunder made in the offseason, getting Caruso and getting Hartenstein was just enormous for them. You get a lockdown perimeter defender like that, and you get a big who's just
who they really needed.
A menace on the offensive glass and defensively as well. So, again, I think that this team could certainly make the Western Conference Finals. I don't know if I would pick them in a series over every other team in the West right now because, again, they're 1-1 against them this year. If you told me they get the Nuggets in the 2-3 series in the second round, that would probably be a little bit worrisome to me.
I would go as far as to say I think any team between like 2 and 10 in the West right now could beat each other, because I think the West is so deep. Like everybody basically above Phoenix is like a viable like contender to win a playoff series, in my opinion.
You think Golden State could beat the Grizzlies in a 7-game series? Maybe with Butler
If
now.
playoff Butler shows up,
Maybe with
I
Butler
do.
now.
Yeah,
I don't think the Kings can. I don't think the basketball
Maybe,
gods
yeah.
are going to be kind to the Mavericks either. The basketball gods
Oh,
are.
okay. Scratch that. Mavericks, no. Unless Anthony Davis is like 100% for the playoffs, which probably not.
Even your guys, I could squint and see. I would be pretty surprised if the Wolves beat the Grizzlies in a 7-game series.
Yeah, I mean, they would.
You would need a
I'm
serious
just saying,
Anthony Edwards takeover.
I think it's not unrealistic for any of these teams. Like, I don't
Right.
think it's unrealistic that the Kings could beat a team in a playoff series.
Oh,
Just 'cause they have so-
A team, yes.
Just like any of these teams beating each other.
Yeah.
Not counting OKC.
I said it the other night, and we saw it, proof of concept of it the other night. The most realistic first-round matchup that would scare me the most if I'm a Grizzlies fan is the Clippers, assuming Kawhi Leonard is healthy, because they are
Big
dogs.
assumption, though.
They're for sure.
Yeah.
But if he's healthy, they have a bunch of dogs defensively. They've got multiple real perimeter scoring options that can flamethrower you at a time. Kawhi.
Shout
Say
out
we-
Norm Powell.
Norm Powell is having an awesome season, man. Letting Paul George walk for Norm Powell is looking like one of the moves of the year so far.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lauren. I think Lawrence Frank is still their GM of the Clippers, so shout out to him for seeing the vision on that. James Harden, you can say what you want. He's playing at an all-star caliber level this year.
He had a monster game last night.
They've got optionality. Again, they've got optionality. They could switch everything. And importantly, you talk about, the dynamic that a Zach Edey could bring in the playoffs. Someone like Zubats could really give Zach Edey problems. He has kind of size and physicality that I think could negate Edey. And just the physicality the Clippers play with as a whole is something that has given the Grizzlies problems this year. So
Yeah.
if Memphis ended up seeing them in the first round, I might be a little bit leery of that. But all in all, really good team. I would just say right now, I think that unless OKC suffers a major injury or two, I think that their ceiling right now is the Western Conference Finals, just because OKC is that good.
Yeah. They've been winning a lot of these games without Chet, too, as well.
Right.
So they've already dealt with a major injury.
Right. Yeah, it might take a Shea injury to get there. And
Yeah.
We-
That
we
would
don't-
be pretty devastating.
Right.
But right.
And we don't want to manifest that whatsoever, because if you're going to beat this team, you want to beat them at
Right.
full strength
Yeah.
and prove that you're the better team. So we'll see what happens. Grizz, like I said, you can catch Jalen Wells and Zach Edey in the Rising Stars Challenge tonight. Jaren Jackson Jr. in the All-Star game on Sunday, and then they are back in action next week with a road trip that starts against the Indiana Pacers. All right, we're going to take a quick 30-second timeout, and when we come back, we're going to discuss the Memphis Tigers picking up a dominant win on the road in Tampa last night. You're watching Fast 5 Sports. Stick with us.
Go fast. Go fast. Go fast. Go fast. Go fast. Go fast.
All right, welcome back into Fast 5 Sports alongside Jacob Gallant. I am Matt Infield. All right, quick story time. So, as you know, may know at least, I'm lucky enough to be one of the co-hosts on the Penny Hardaway Show. So we taped with Penny on Monday, and as we were wrapping up, I go to Penny, I said, don't do my alma mater too dirty this week. I'm an alum of the University of South Florida. Penny looked back at me and laughed and said, sorry, man, I got to do it to him. And they, in fact, did it to him last night. Tigers going on the road to Tampa and beating the Bulls 80-65. And to be honest, it really wasn't that close. Tigers led by 20+ at multiple points. Again, it kind of feels kind of silly to talk about, but the fact that it was only a 15-point win as opposed to their largest lead was 24 at one point hurts them in some of these predictive metrics like the net and whatnot at KenPom. Seems silly because, anyone who watched that game last night, it was horrific basketball for the first 10 minutes or so, and then Memphis just kind of ran USF out the gym. Dane Danger, once again, another dominant night for him. 20 points, 7 rebounds on 9 of 13 shooting. PJ Haggerty, not super efficient from the field, but still 18 points, and he just gets to the free throw line so often that he has such a steady floor. It is scoring night to night. Tyrese Hunter back in the starting lineup after missing Sunday's game against Temple with a knee injury. Got off to a bit of a slow start, but then got things on track. He had 15 points, and all in all, these are the kind of performances you want to see from the Tigers in conference play against inferior competition, because obviously this team sometimes plays with their food a little bit and it gets a little bit harem-scarum down the stretch. Although I will say, there was a lot of worry early in conference play with these close results that this team was going to go down a similar path to last year's Tigers team that was awesome in non-conference play and then fell apart in conference play. That has not happened whatsoever. They've had one loss on the road at Temple. That was the night where they got killed on the glass. Jamal Bashford Jr., the lead scorer of the conference, went off against them. Since then, they have not lost. And that game was, I think, a month ago at this point. That game was on January 16th. Weird out Valentine's Day. So the Tigers are going to go into Sunday's game at Wichita State without losing in the last month. 8 in a row for them, 11-1 in conference play. We're kind of at the point now where I think they would have to damn near lose out to put their tournament bid in danger. I mean, they are really close to just being locked in no matter what happens in Fort Worth. And importantly now, they have 6 games left in the regular season. They essentially have a 3-game lead for the conference standings, for the top seed in the conference tournament. So they're in a really good spot to get the double bye in Fort Worth and automatically be through to the quarterfinals no matter what. So all in all right now, I think you got to really like how this team's playing. They don't always do it for 40 minutes, and that's fair, but they find ways to win games, and they just have so many options, inside, outside, and they are really good defensively. This is, Petty talked a lot about getting back to his defensive roots. This team has done that and then some. They are just they create havoc, force turnovers, and then they get out in the open floor and run. So, yeah, I think if you're a fan of this team right now, you have to like where they're at going to Sunday's game at Wichita State, because obviously they're in a great spot in conference, and we know what they've done outside of conference play, and they've proven that they can beat some of the best teams in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, the defense, they've only given up 80 points, 3 times since conference play started. Mm-hmm. A lot of 60s in here, and they're just rolling at the right time.
Yeah, to me, like I said, there's so much optionality with this team in terms of you've got PJ Haggerty, who's one of the top scorers in America, who even on an off night shooting for him, he is so proficient at getting to the free throw line that he has such a steady floor with points that you can count on for him. And now you've got, ever since Dane Danger was put into the starting lineup, he has absolutely exploded and been, I imagine, I haven't compared his numbers to every other top big man in America, but when you look at his numbers over the last 7 or 8 games since he got put into the starting lineup, I mean, this is like a dominant player, and efficient too. Scoring on the glass, he's a good passer, he's giving you stuff defensively as well. And you're at a point where you've got all these options on the wing between Haggerty, Hunter, Rogers when he's on, PJ Carter's emerging, Dante Harris has proven he's adequate. That it's kind of pick your poison, because if you're going to play Dane Danger one-on-one down low, he'll cook you. If you send 2 bodies at him, he is a more than adequate enough passer to where he can kick it out to these guys and they'll make you pay too. And I think the good thing with this team is you're seeing depth emerge over the course of the season, because you kind of know what you're going to get from PJ Haggerty. You know you're going to get from Dane Danger. Tyrese Hunter, maybe not the scoring every night, but that steady floor general presence and his defense, you know you'll get that every single night. You're now at a point where Colby Rogers has been a little bit inconsistent at times. Well, guess what? PJ Carter has emerged as a sharpshooter that can kind of fill that void from the three-point line on a night where Colby Rogers' shot isn't falling. Dante Harris, like I mentioned before, the way he played in place of Tyrese Hunter in the win against Temple the other day, was awesome. And then, as long as you keep all the bigs healthy, Dane, Musa Cisse, Nick Jourdain, I think you're in a good spot because that's the one weakness if you want to look at this team right now is they are not very deep, in terms of their big guys. But I think that this is a team that has every chance to roll through the conference tournament and probably win a couple of games right off the bat. This is, to me, this is clearly the best Memphis team that I've covered in 3 seasons here. Obviously, last season's team was what it was from a talent perspective, but from a team perspective, fell apart. 2 years ago, they were a lot of fun, and they had a guy in Kendrick Davis that was just such a killer competitively. And when DeAndre Williams came on in the second half of the season, that was a dynamic duo. But when you look at the depth on that team, with all due respect to guys like Keontae Kennedy and Elijah McCadden and DeMar Franklin, this team is way deeper than that one was. And to be honest, someone brought up that P.J. Haggerty might be better than Kendrick Davis was, and I was a little taken aback by it at first, but when you look at the numbers, it's not really that far off. Kendrick had just this mentality that you never felt like you were out of a game with him just because he was going to give it his all for 40 minutes and give you his best. But, yeah, I mean, 1 through 8 to 9 on this team, they are way deeper than that team was 2 years ago. So, yeah, I mean, right now I think they're kind of steamrolling towards a 4 to 5 seed, which again will give them a chance to. Petty's talked about it a bunch. In the last 2, in his only 2 tournament appearances with the Tigers, they've been the 8 or the 9, which means that even in the case of them winning when they beat Boise State a couple years ago, guess what? You get the number 1 seed in Gonzaga in the second game. Now, obviously, where they fumbled the bag a little bit was 2 years ago. They were the 8 seed against FAU. Lost that game. If they would have won that game, they would have gotten 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson, who had upset Purdue right before them. But again, if you're the 4 or the 5, you don't have to worry about all that. You put yourself in position to really have a chance to advance to the Sweet 16 for the first time in the Penny Hardaway era. And we gotta give Penny credit too, man, because for all the outside, what appeared to be chaos on the outside with the coaching staff before the season and all these new guys coming in, man, the vision has worked out beautifully, and he's got all these guys gelling. I know for a fact this is the best he's felt about a coaching staff since he's been here. So, yep, times are good with the Tigers and everything around them right now. All right, we will take one more quick break and come back and wrap this up with a little NFL and college baseball talk. You are watching Fast 5 Sports. Stick with us.
Go fast. Go fast. Go fast. Go fast. Go fast. Go fast. Go fast.
All right, back to put a bow on things here on Fast 5 Sports. I'm Matt Infield. That is Jacob Gallant. Like I said before, our Griffin Deborah is at the Super Bowl parade, the Champions Parade in Philadelphia for his beloved Philadelphia Eagles. I finally kind of took your advice and stopped betting against Patrick Mahomes, and of course, I've been very clear. I've been very clear about my feelings on Patrick Mahomes. I've just bet against the Chiefs on vibes, and it burned me every time. And I finally decided I'm going to stop doing this because I think so highly of this player and what he could do. And I do it, and they get just absolutely smashed in one of the kind of all-time dominant Super Bowl performances. Eagles win 40-22 in a game that was not that close.
Yeah,
This game was over.
It was just domination. I really expected the Eagles to come in running the ball with Saquon, and they really never needed to.
I said it multiple times, there is no way you would have told me Saquon Barkley would have 25 carries for 57 yards.
Yeah.
And the Eagles would not only win the game. If you would have told me that stat line before the game, I would have probably guessed the Chiefs won by 2 possessions.
Yeah.
If you told me that stat line before the game, I would have never guessed the Eagles would not only win the game, but win it in, frankly, a blowout that was not close from the second quarter on. So, I mean, just a really commanding, dominant performance by the Eagles' defensive line, which both of Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl losses have looked very similar. The Chiefs' offensive line just gets their ass kicked for 4 quarters. He's running for his life, and there's not a ton he could really do. He did not play well either, it must be said. I think there's a difference in this game compared to when they lost to the Buccaneers a couple of years ago, where in that game I thought Mahomes played well, but he just was running for his life and there was nothing he could do. In this game, I thought he played poorly and the offensive line was also problematic. The pick six he threw was bad. Felt like he just wasn't seeing the field all that well.
Stepped up into a lot of sacks.
Yeah, and that's where I think the Eagles' game plan was awesome, just in terms of, the most foolproof way to beat any elite quarterback is to get home with 4, not have to blitz. The Eagles did not blitz one time.
That I was so shocked when they said that in the fourth quarter.
Not
I could
one
not
time.
believe it.
But if you can get home with 4 and drop 7 in the coverage and put pressure on the quarterback, that is the most foolproof way to beat any elite QB.
Yep.
Where I thought their game plan was especially great was they were so disciplined in their rush lanes because they would start to apply pressure. Mahomes would step up into the pocket, and every time he did that, there was an Eagles defensive lineman there waiting on him. So, now, all the talk about the GOAT conversation's over, this kills his legacy. We've got to a point now where apparently making the Super Bowl and losing in the Super Bowl is somehow worse for your legacy than losing in the divisional round or not getting there at all, which is silly to me. Because, again, even with this loss, go stack up.
Have we already forgotten that Brady won a ton of Super Bowls as an old man? Like, Mahomes is not even 30.
Go look at Mahomes' resume to this point versus Brady's resume at the same age.
Yeah.
Mahomes is better by a good bit. By a good bit. Super Bowls are equal, but the whole picture, Mahomes' resume is better than Brady's at this point. And again, people have brought up too, Brady lost in the divisional round in 2010 to the Ravens where he stunk it up. So, again, every great quarterback, every elite quarterback has stickers in the playoffs. Does anyone really talk about Peyton Manning and the Broncos and the way they got demolished in the Super Bowl by the Seahawks anymore? Or
early career Peyton when he couldn't get over the hump until he made the Super Bowl against the Bears.
Just lost time and time again to the Patriots. So, no quarterback has a perfect playoff record.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if the Chiefs reloaded and won it again next year.
They're in an interesting spot.
They need offensive line help, clearly.
They're in an interesting spot with their salary cap situation, and they don't have a ton of draft picks this year, but when you have a quarterback this great, they're going to be in the picture again.
Yeah.
Same thing happened after they lost to the Bucs. They retooled the offensive line, they got better, and they created a period of time where they won 2 Super Bowls and got to another in a 3-year stretch. So they'll be back. It might look different, but they'll be back. I also think that they could probably stand to get one more skill position guy. Xavier Worthy, nice little garbage time stat line this game. 8 catches, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Looks good on paper.
Mahomes also had one of the great, how do you say this, PG-13, kind of screw you throws late in the game. Just they're completely out of it. 2 minutes left. Just drops a 70-yard dive to Worthy in the end zone. Incredible throw. They compared it to. That was crazy. It was the Chris Paul hits a huge 3 to cut the lead to 41 or whatever meme. I think they could stand to use one more skill position guy. Man, Kelsey, I don't know if Kelsey comes back or not. He was not looking good in that game. I definitely don't think. I thought he would turn it on in the playoffs. Didn't really happen this year. So I don't know how much he has left in the tank. I could see him coming back for one more run just because
I think he'll be back.
He doesn't want to go out on that note. Yeah. I could also see him wanting to make a bunch of money doing New Heights with his brother and traveling the world with Taylor Swift. That's definitely a possibility too. Enough of the Chiefs. Like I do want to say on the Eagles, I think we underestimated. This was a damn near flawless roster. I mean, salute Howie Roseman for this build.
Offseason.
I mean, listen, Jalen Hurts silenced a lot of critics in this playoff run because he was awesome. And this is now 2 Super Bowls where he has played pretty lights out. Obviously a couple years ago they lost, but he was the better quarterback in that game on the same field as Patrick Mahomes. He was awesome. Once again in this game, he had one kind of egregious interception. Other than that, he was really, really good. When you look at this roster, best running back in football, best offensive line in football, best defensive line in football, one of the best outside receiver duos, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, top 10 quarterback, I'll call Jalen Hurts, probably between like 6 to 10, somewhere in that range. Drafted 2 stud defensive backs this year, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. The weakest part of that team last year was their linebackers in the middle of the field. Go get Zach Bond. And that became a strength for them this year. So, yeah, I mean, this roster is, like I said, not perfect, but really, really good at basically every level of the field. So, I think you have to consider them the favorites to do it again next year. I'm not going down the dynasty road. We do this every time any team wins a championship. Is this the start of the dynasty?
Especially with a young quarterback.
Right. I'm not going down that road. But, especially in football, just because football is so dependent on injury luck and things change really fast in this league.
Yeah.
But they have to be considered the favorites to win it all again next year with this roster and with the amount of guys they're going to have coming back.
I think you got to consider this. I don't know what else to compare it to, but one of the best off seasons of all time. The way they just reloaded that defense and added Saquon, and became the best team in football.
And overcame losing Jason Kelsey.
Yeah, that too.
That was a lot of people thought that could be like kind of the death knell for their offensive line.
Tush
push, just the offensive line in general, just with the amount of things that he did as far as calling out assignments and calling out signals and whatnot, and nope, they did not skip a beat. So, I think the Eagles have to be considered favorites going to next year. Chiefs, as long as Patrick Mahomes is standing on 2 legs, I don't even know if he has to be healthy because we've seen him win Super Bowls on bum ankles before, but the Chiefs will be fine as long as he's there. And now the countdown to the draft is on in Green Bay. That'll be cool to see at Lambeau Field. Tennessee Titans.
Hopefully, new Packer Myles Garrett will be introducing their first pick.
Myles Garrett or Max Crosby? I can see either one of them.
Yes, either one is fine with me.
I think the Packers. I think the Packers kind of primed to make a move for an edge rusher this year. So just kind of think about some offseason storylines. Obviously Myles Garrett is asked out. We'll see if Max Crosby ends up getting traded. Obviously the Titans on the clock with the first pick. Do they keep that pick? Do they draft a quarterback? Do they trade it for a haul? I think some of these Matthew Stafford rumors are going to kind of pick up some steam, because it's kind of looking like the Rams might be moving on from him. And
interesting. They played so well down the stretch, too.
I think it's a money thing. They've already said they're going to move on from Cooper Kupp. I think that apparently the Giants are a sneaky team to maybe go get Matt Stafford, which as a Malik Neighbors fan and a Malik Neighbors fantasy football dynasty owner, I would not mind that whatsoever, because I know Matt Stafford would feed that man. So, we'll see. It's, the NFL is 24/7, 365. We're going to have headlines for a long time to come, and we're going to have stuff to talk about. So it'll be a fun offseason ahead. Like I said, Titans on the clock with the number 1 pick. Also, shout out real quick to a couple Memphis Tigers. Seth Hennigan, Rock Taylor, both getting the invite to the draft combine in Indianapolis in a couple weeks. Don't know why Chandler Martin did not get the invite. Again, I'll say it again. If he was 6'2" or 6'3" instead of 6 foot, I think he would be discussed as one of the best linebackers in this class. Even despite his height, I think he's going to have a long, solid career in the NFL, because he's one of the smartest players I've ever covered. And he's just has such great instincts on the field and has the athleticism, in my opinion, to last. So we'll see on that. All right, last thing before we go, I believe first pitch just happened at FedEx Park over on the Park Avenue campus at the University of Memphis. College baseball season is underway. The Tigers beginning the season against SEMO today. It'll be a doubleheader today. Game 3 is scheduled for tomorrow. Do not think from everything that...
yes.
You know what? Here's Ben. Hey, Ron.
Yes.
Memphis Tigers, last game, so they're having a doubleheader today. Come on over here.
Here I am.
So they're having a doubleheader today.
It's good to be on the broadcast.
Yeah, we're not talking about the Cowboys, though. All right.
What? I'm out.
All right. No, we got more important things to
How's
talk
my
about.
light? All right, here we go.
It's all good. Okay.
Rolling.
So Tigers baseball team, They
Yeah.
they had a doubleheader today because of the impending weather.
Right.
I say Game 3 is scheduled tomorrow. Do not think that game's happening.
I don't think they're going to play tomorrow. No,
I don't think
why.
so.
Yeah, and look, now the new forecast data is coming in showing the bands of heavier rain, and that was been our main concern with this system, heavy rain, the potential for flash flooding. But the forecast models today are shifting that a little farther north.
Okay.
However, what it also does, it increases the potential for strong to severe storms to make their way
Thunderstorms
farther
and
north.
stuff.
Yeah, so tomorrow's the first alert weather day for the entire coverage area, but the flooding threat I think is going to be around northeast Arkansas and northwest Tennessee. The problem here is we're still going to get rain, we're still going to see a lot of rain, but we're also going to see the threat for severe storms that could possibly produce tornadoes. So
We
that's
play
what we're
tornadoes.
looking at there. So do I think they're going to play tomorrow?
No shot.
Yeah, I think
Sunday, though, maybe?
and yeah, Sunday would be fine. It's going to be cold.
Cold,
though.
yeah.
Yeah, because we're looking at highs probably only in the 30s for most
Not
of the
baseball
day.
weather.
Yeah, and it's going to be windy too. Adds a little spin to that ball. Anyway,
Chief Meteorologist Ron Chiller is making a cameo on Fast 5 Sports. Catch him on 3:30?
yeah. No, I'll be on at 4.
right.
Maggie McCally's on at 3:30, but maybe we'll just make this a regular gig.
Hey,
and
feel
talk
free.
about we'll call it the Cowboy segment. I'm out.
We talk about teams that
We need
win.
more content.
All right, so yeah, that's that. And then we got spring training getting underway soon. I want to mention that as well especially because you catch the Atlanta Braves on
Yeah. Big.
great stations on great television this year. Oh, I think we'll have 14 games on Action News 5 Plus and a couple on Big Action News 5. So
Yeah.
you can watch
Yeah.
them for free, which is cool because obviously there's been a lot of disputes with Valley Sports and providers last couple years. So you have
That's-
free.
They got a good roster too. Those are going to be good games.
Yeah, we've actually we've got our affiliate station in Atlanta. It's at spring training with them. They caught up with South Haven's very own Austin Riley the other day. Obviously coming off one, a disappointing season for him. 2, one that ended early when he broke his hand in August. I think he's due for a monster year because I just think he's too good a player. That I think that he's gonna have a big time bounce back year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to have baseball back, even if it's certainly not baseball weather. Even around here, all these teams come from the north, come down here because it's supposed to be better weather this time of year, and it's better than up there, but still not totally baseball weather yet.
Before we leave the baseball subject, quick shout out: my Mississippi State Bulldogs up 17-0 right now over Manhattan, the powerhouse of Manhattan. You
What
know.
inning?
Not sure.
I was gonna say, how
I
long
just
ago-
got a quick check at Twitter. It was 17-0 the last check. 6th inning.
All right, so it's not nothing too crazy. Well, that's still a pretty crazy score. All right, yeah, so Tigers take you out SEMO. I'm actually about to head over there right now. Doubleheader. Game 1 highlights at 6. Game 2 highlights, so we'll have some post-game reaction with Doc Holliday coming up tonight on Action News 5 at 10. For now, that is going to do it for another edition of Fast 5 Sports. For our Digital King, Jacob Gallant, I am Matt Infield saying thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back with another episode